Hey, what's going on, fight fans? Hey, this is Coach D, the Wild Man, coming at you again with another episode of Coach D Media. Now, you know I do with Coach D Media. I talk about all things combat sports related, from the highs to the lows. All right, like I said before in my previous podcast, if I wanted to watch, that I will get Justin Brown on the line, and we'll catch up everybody on what's going on with the sport of Gamma USA and Gamma Worldwide, and basically do some housekeeping to kind of keep everybody in the know of what's going on. We try our best to give you complete transparency on what's happening, so you're not in the dark, you're not guessing what's going on, you kind of know where we're at. So I'm gonna let Justin cue you in on what's going on with Brazil, and then we'll talk about what just happened with Pancration, what's going on with UWW. Cause all these things are coming around the same time, so I know it's like a lot for a lot of you new fans coming on board. So we'll go ahead and get you all cleaned up, that way you know what's going on. Justin, what's going on, brother?
What's happening, Coach D? How are you?
I'm doing great. So let's start off with Brazil. I know I've been seeing a lot of people chiming in and go, hey, what's going on with Brazil? Where we're at? When can we start doing what we need to do? So catch everybody up if you don't mind.
Man, I wish I could catch everybody up, but there is a lack of transparency, unfortunately. But it's not on the U.S. side; it's not on the national side. My inbox is blowing up every day. I get emails and messages, not just from our athletes and parents, but from national federations around the world. They're saying, "What the hell's going on?"
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I don't have an answer. I'm generally the technical delegate over the tournament, and I don't have any information either. So these decisions are made in a very small vacuum, very small bubble, and no information is being shared out at all. Unfortunately. So right now we're being told it's a go, but I'm unwilling to stake my reputation on telling everyone to go ahead and book flights, because once I do that, these parents trust me, these athletes and coaches trust me. They're going to book flights. And if this doesn't happen 100% the way that it's supposed to happen, then that's going to be a reflection on us as an organization. And I don't know that we'll be able to dig ourselves out of that hole. Okay. So I'm unwilling at this point, without the full tournament handbook, without knowing that there's lodging, where it's going to be, what hotels we're going to stay at, what the food situation is going to be, telling people to spend money on visas and stuff. I don't know if you saw, but Brazil just enacted their new visa policies on April 1st. So it's a lot more difficult to get a visa. It's not an open tourist visa anymore from the U.S. And Canada, North America. So we've got to actually apply for a visa, which takes time. Yeah, that costs money. There's been no letter provided from Brazil organizing committee to help expedite that process or to help alleviate the stress involved with that. So there's a lot of missing information and stuff, and I'm not willing to, again, stake my reputation and lose the trust of our athletes and families, without having that full information. So unfortunately, our hands have been tied, and we just don't have anything to share. I'm told it's a go, at least from the Gamma International side, but until we have the information, there's nothing that we can do, and I'm unwilling to say that.
Okay, so right now you're considered the point of contact when it comes to all things Gamma Worldwide, or is there other people to contact as well?
No, so I'm the president and founder of Gamma USA, but I also work on the international side as a technical delegate for the tournament. So I organize all the officials, I train all the officials, I run the crew of volunteers. I have a pretty large role when it comes to the international planning side. But I haven't heard a single word, man. I mean, it is like a vacuum. I can message it. Alex has tried to reach me a couple times, but I was busy. And you're talking like it's maybe one message back for 10 that I send. It's just a very small amount. It's not throwing him under the bus. I know that they're busy. But there's not a transparent organizing committee where they say, hey, here's where we're lacking. We can't get this part done, or maybe the venue's the hold up. Maybe it's something else. We don't know what's holding this up. So right now it's almost like it's embarrassing for me personally. It's embarrassing for our organization to say, hey, we make these promises of this event, and then it's just it's really disorganized. That's not the way that I operate. I operate very black and white. I'm extremely organized. I like to have all the details and roll it out together. I don't like operating in a gray area that, hey, this should happen. I need to know that this is exactly what's going to happen, and then I'll get our parents to invest, because this is a very expensive venture to go to Brazil.
Yeah. Now, you brought up something that hasn't happened to my knowledge previously. Like, we really never had any visa issues, but now that Brazil has done, this visa new policy, most people don't understand what it takes to get a visa, or how long it takes for a visa to come in. Do you have any idea what that process would be like, so people know how long it would take, so how soon they have to get stuff in, stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure yet, and that's part of the limitation. So normally you can do a visa on site. It depends what country you're going to. So the USA, is we're pretty fortunate to have a USA passport because we can get into most countries quite easily.
Yeah.
However, as of April 1st, Brazil changed that. So even though we need a visa, we can't just show up and get a visa on site. We have to apply beforehand. I'm being told it could be 60 to 90 days. Wow. I don't know if that's true, but if it's 90 days, we're already inside that window and we're out of luck.
Yeah.
We're at 8 weeks now from the time that we're supposed to already be on site, and there's still no information. You cannot plan an international tournament. It's not just me. We've got athletes that are pulling out left and right now because we don't have the information, and they're unwilling to go in that short time frame. Look at Canada. I just spoke to the Canada team coaches on our meeting last week. I called an emergency meeting with the Coaches Commission, and I let the Canadian Coaches Commission join as well so we could discuss Brazil and the lack of information. And they were under the same impression. They're extremely frustrated. They had gone down from 10 to 12 athletes. They've only got 2 now that are going to go.
Wow.
So that's and we're under the same boat. We've got probably half or less that are going to go because of the lack of preparation. And again, it's nothing that I can control, nothing we can control from here. But we do have other options, and we'll talk about that when we get into the pancreation side.
Okay, well, they're good. That would be my next question. So, all right, so let's move on from that. So now, fight fans, I hope you caught up to where we're at. We apologize. It has nothing to do with us. We're just, we're in the holding pattern like everybody else. That old saying, hurry up and wait. We're kind of there. So just kind of bear with us. When the news come in, we'll let you know. Justin, where can they get the information once it comes in?
Yeah, we'll share that with everybody. So we've got a team roster put together with emails and information, and we want to build all that. But again, I can't send partial information out. That's not really how I operate. If I say, hey, here's a letter to go to Worlds and you can't go to Worlds, you're going to be mad at me.
Yeah.
But if I send that letter out and you spend a bunch of money and then you can't go to Worlds, you're going to be exponentially more mad at me because you spent $4,000 to $5,000. It's not like an amateur athlete. They've got a flight to pay, but these youth athletes that are planning, they got to fly with their parents. They're going to fly with the coach. They're going to fly with the kid. They're going to fly with their siblings sometimes. So you're talking, man, I know one family that's already spent almost $8,000 on flights. So if this doesn't go through, it's going to be a pretty disastrous PR mess for not only us, but obviously the international side. So, there's nothing that I can do from the U.S. side. So until that information is available and until the international side decides to figure it out, we're just kind of in a holding pattern.
Okay. Well, fight fans, you now caught up on that part. Hey, we apologize. We're sorry. Hey, welcome to the game. The world's in turmoil right now in some areas. So now you're seeing the blowback from it. So we just deal with it and see what comes next. So, Justin, let's go ahead and move on to my next topic. I saw where you posted your official letter of Gamma USA and UWW when it comes to pancreation and MMA. A lot of people has kind of inboxed me and go, Coach, what does all this mean? I go, hey, I'll let the man speak for himself because he's the one that's in the know. Most of this stuff, I'll tear it up. So catch everybody up. What does the letter mean? What is now what we're doing with pancreation and UWW? What is it all about?
Yeah, so as far as the Olympic platform is concerned, there's only one federation that can be recognized per sport. The sport of pancreation, amateur MMA, and grappling were the newest 3 that were added onto the Olympic side, but they got added under UWW, which everyone knows is the Olympic Wrestling Federation.
Yeah.
Right? So, so it's the same as Team USA Wrestling. They control the sports of obviously Greco, freestyle, and folk style wrestling. Team USA Wrestling, it was recognized under UWW for those Olympic sports. And then you have associated styles, which are in progress to be full Olympic sports. So that includes your grappling, your pancreation, and now amateur MMA. So the amateur MMA rules have never been made public. I'm on the global committee that's helping create those rules and regulations. We are 99% done. We've got just a couple small changes to finally vote on, and then that'll be public for the world to see what the UWW format of amateur MMA is going to look like. Obviously, we changed around the sport of pancreation as well. I can't say everything until it's public, but I can tell you it's nowhere near the guys that were doing it in the early 2000s through UWW and FILA. The sport has vastly changed. It's now mimics what we've done now for youth MMA programs. It's more continuous, so people can move directly into pancreation, into amateur MMA, and it's very consistent with those programs that we already offer in the U.S. for youth MMA.
Okay, so being under UWW, we understand USA Wrestling. As USA Wrestling has been around for a while. We've seen the big platforms when they go to world, have world tournaments, and it's pretty daggone cool. Is that similar what we're going to be expecting when it comes to mixed martial arts on the MMA side, and pancreation? What can we expect under the UWW if you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So UWW is very well known in the wrestling circles. It's pretty much the highest elite level wrestling you can get. If you look at the wrestling, the highest names, it goes NCAA and UWW, which is the Olympic format. Those are the highest stages of wrestling. It's pretty much gospel for anyone in the wrestling community. You're well aware of those.
Gotcha.
UWW used to formerly be FILA, right? So if you talk about back in the 90s and early 2000s, it was FILA, and then it was transferred to UWW. So those are synonymous. It was the Olympic Wrestling Federation. So the way Olympic sports work, you and I have talked about this before, is you have to have an international federation that gets recognized by the IOC. And that's a long process that takes years and years and years. Originally, we were applying for amateur MMA to be directly recognized as its own international federation under the IOC. Yep. That process is so many hurdles, so much red tape, a lot of politics. But what the IOC did agree to do was allow us to absorb amateur MMA rule set under UWW. So there's already an existing international federation that's recognized by the IOC that's now accepted amateur MMA and pancration. They had pancration a while back, but it was completely different than what it is now. So yeah, those are now absorbed under UWW as an international federation recognized by the IOC.
Now, can this what you just described, can that be reproduced by anybody else? Or are we the sole ones over combat sports?
Yeah, so anyone can compete. Anyone can say the name pancration, right?
Yeah.
We don't own the name pancration. You see several pancration groups, even in the USA. There's several, but and they represent other international federations, but those federations are in no way a subsidiary of the IOC or any international recognition in any way. There's another one. They've got a headquarters in Greece, and it's really kind of a false premise because they state that their offices are inside the Olympic something center, but the truth is that's just anyone can rent office space there. The name of the building is just called the Olympic Wrestling Hall or whatever the interpretation is in Greece. So anyone can rent an office space there. There's no affiliation with the Olympic Committee in any way. So if you want to go to the Olympics, you have to go through the Olympic Federation that's recognized. Right now, that's only us in the USA for pancration. Amateur MMA will be coming up, and then obviously there's grappling as well. Those sports are included under UWW, and they're in a process for trying to get into the Olympic Games.
Okay, because whenever I try to post something, you always hit me up and go, "Man, you can't use Team USA." Once everything goes through, can we now say Team USA?
Yeah. So to use the name Team USA, and this is funny because so many people use that word. It's actually a copyrighted phrase of the U.S. Olympic Committee. Yeah. We have the recognition and we have the ability to apply under the U.S. Olympic Committee as of right now because of our affiliation with UWW. However, they only look at applications for new sports every 2 years to be a recognized Olympic sport under the USOPC. A lot of letters there, but to apply to be recognized by the U.S. Olympic Committee, it's every 2 years. They just did it at the end of 2024, and we didn't get our recognition until the end of 2024. So we missed this cycle to apply. So we're going to apply in 2026, and then however long that process takes, it shouldn't be too bad because we've already met the requirements, and then we can be recognized by the U.S. Olympic Committee. But we're already recognized on the international side. Our international federation's a full IOC member. So there is no other organizations that people can be a part of to get into the Olympic Games. If pancration and MMA are included, they must go through our organization. So that was some false claims I saw posted at one point where someone said if you were going to go to the Olympics, they take the best athletes regardless of where you come from. It's just not true. You still have to have status with that national federation. So if you're going to go to USA Karate or USA Taekwondo, you have to have competed under that organization and gain status, ranking systems, and those. They don't just take anybody. Now, the only thing we can't prohibit is people that want to compete with us. So we take any organization that wants to compete under our umbrella and wants to compete with us for athletes and clubs. They're welcome to be members of our organization, and we encourage it. Just because those other organizations exist and they're not Olympic recognized doesn't mean there's not value there. There's definitely good organizations and good people. We open the doors for everybody to compete under GAMA USA, and USF MMA is our legal name, as you guys know. But anyone can compete with us. Our doors are wide open.
Okay, well, since we're in the United States, so saying a USA combat this or a USA gym that's not so much the problem. It's when you say that when you're training through our gym can or our organization can get you to the Olympics. That's the problem.
Well, that's false. It's a lie. The
Okay.
only way you can get to the Olympic Games is through the recognized national federation. The
Okay.
U.S. Olympic Committee doesn't appoint athletes. They appoint the national federation. So to think that if you were going to go to downhill skiing, that they're just the U.S. Olympic Committee is going to pick a skier. That's not the case. The Olympic Committee doesn't pick any athletes. They have a ranking system through the national federation, and that's how you get into the Olympic Games. You don't get in directly through the U.S. Olympic Committee. You get in through the national federation recognized by the U.S. Olympic Committee. And going back to your point of using Team USA, even though we technically could do it, we don't use the name Team USA anything because we're not recognized yet by the U.S. Olympic Committee.
Okay.
At some point, there was another organization that tried to apply for the trademark to use Team USA MMA or even USA MMA, and they were kicked out. They were rejected both times because those are infringement issues, and it doesn't matter why, but those were rejected. So if you actually go to usamma.org, it goes to our organization. That domain's been owned by us for a substantial amount of time. It goes directly to Gamma USA's website. But anytime you see someone using Team USA Kickboxing, Team USA Pancration, Team USA Muay Thai, those organizations are false unless they're the Olympic recognized federation. Team USA Kickboxing, the only one recognized for Team USA Kickboxing is WACO. WACO Team USA is the official Team USA Kickboxing. Okay. So all these other groups that say, come join Team USA Kickboxing, it's false. Team USA Muay Thai can only be used by USA Muay Thai. They're the U.S. recognized federation. So there's other groups that say, hey, come make Team USA Muay Thai, and they're not affiliated with the USA Muay Thai organization. That's a false claim. And they could be held liable. So I know that the U.S. Olympic Committee was looking at several of those instances, and they said that they would get back to those. There's a pile of them that they're going to pursue. I know that because I've spoken to them directly as well, but they wanted to get through the Olympic Games, which they finished up in 2024. And then there's more conversations to come, but I assume there's going to be more cease and desist letters and a little more protection for those people that are full USOPC recognized individuals.
Okay, so that brings up a question. So everything you just said, I'm pretty sure it's Googleable to certain degrees, or a website will give you the outline of what the rules are to be part of a USA organization heading towards any Olympic sport. Why would anybody even go through that, just for recruitment or what? I mean, you can only go so far. So a fighter who's looking to go to Olympics, if they go through your organization and you can't get them there, what happens after that? They didn't get what they hired for. So what's the point of doing it? Don't make any sense.
I think some people just use the Team USA name because maybe they don't realize that it's trademarked for one, right? Okay. It's trademarked and it's heavily protected, and I assure you that it's heavily protected. I've had conversations. I know that I've seen cease and desist letters for other organizations, even one that I was a part of almost 10 years ago. You can't use the Team USA branding, that name specifically, even though you put any sport name after it. It is copyright protected from the U.S. Olympic Committee. So you can't use Team USA in anything, a sport after it without their permission, and people just do it because they haven't been warned yet. So if you don't get to the Olympics, then that's it. I think it just makes them seem bigger than they are by saying, hey, come join Team USA, whatever it is, rug pulling or whatever you want to call it, but you just can't use that Team USA branding. Again, I don't think many people do it intentionally to try to pretend they're part of the Olympic Committee. I think maybe they just don't realize that they legally aren't allowed to use it, and it just makes them seem more, I guess, important or bigger.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So I think I saw somebody ask this question. So now you have Gamma Worldwide for international competition. Now we're under UWW. What's the difference when it comes to tournaments? How is that going to map out?
So that's two different organizations. So our organization is recognized by both. Okay. Like if we were to put it in the MMA terms, it'd be like, hey, if we had a camp that could send athletes to the UFC and also to one championship, we're in a nice spot that we're recognized as the national federation under UWW. They're the only official Olympic recognized pancration program. That's it. In fact, you saw a letter that was from the IOC yesterday where they responded enforcing the fact that UWW is that. So it's pretty clear. And then Gamma is our organization that we founded kind of from the ground up. So, we're still part of that organization. So we have the ability to compete at either or both. So we can always send athletes to Gamma International. We can always send athletes now to UWW International Competition, which is about to kick back off. So as you know, I'll back up a little bit. on pancration, because pancration as a sport, was founded back in 648 BC, and up to like 393 AD. It was competed in the ancient Olympic Games, and it was finally outlawed by the emperor at the time. It was deemed to be too violent and wasn't a palatable sport for the civilized citizens. So it was kind of kicked out as a sport. It was revived back in the 80s and 90s. Jim Arvanitis is kind of credited with that as a U.S. Greek. His family was Greek immigrants born in the U.S., but he was kind of credited with reviving the sport of pancration. He's a tremendous martial artist as well. I've seen his videos. I don't know him personally. Still lives down in Florida, I believe. But phenomenal martial artist and deserves all the credit. But he revived a series called neo-pancration, which he was trying to say he was anti-pancration. He wanted to create pancration, but he knows that those old forms don't exist. There's no way to teach it, and it's too violent even if you could. So modern-day pancration is in no way a reflection of what the ancient pancration was as a sport. So anyways, in 1997, the IOC awarded Greece the 2004 Olympic Games. So they had 7 years to develop the sport of pancration, because the local organizing committee gets to choose a demonstration sport that represents their culture. So Greece decided that they wanted to try to revive the sport of pancration in a more modern, friendly way to try to get into the Olympic Games in 2004. So they tasked a group that was the Athlema guys. Athlema means sport. That's all that means in Greek. But there was the World Pancreatic Athlema something. But they were kind of part of that organization or part of that movement back in the early 2000s to try to get the IOC recognition into the games in 2004, and it failed. So inevitably, that 2004 Greek Games hit. The IOC rejected the sport, and the local Greek Olympic Committee rejected the sport, saying it was too watered down. It was more like a karate style based format. They didn't really have, it was like flags. But keep in mind what the environment of MMA was at that time, right? The UFC was having its own battles and fights. The sport of MMA was having its own. So as they were gaining recognition, there was a lot of states and politicians pushing against the sport and trying to shut it down. So pancration had a big uphill climb anyways to try to get that into the games as a more violent or a known violent combat sport. It clearly isn't today. And people accept MMA as probably one of the top 5 biggest sports in the world, as you've seen. So just coming back to it, in 2004, it was rejected from the games. That Athlema group was still a part of the FILA and in the UWW, but again, they've been parted ways and separated, so they no longer have any affiliation with any. And that modern form of pancration that they offered to the public was widely rejected. So when people say, "Hey, we've already done it," you haven't done it, because now, as of the end of 2024, there was a whole new leadership created from guys that have more MMA backgrounds. So now you have an MMA culture or MMA centric pancration program, where we're using the 10-point must system, vastly different rules. We got rid of the goofy headgear and all the other things that just didn't make sense for the grappling portion of it. And now you have a really true youth MMA pancration program that people will recognize as the sport of MMA, or closer to the sport of MMA. And that's what we want to be known for. We want to use pancration as our novice programs and then moving into the amateur MMA. So they're very consistent from one sport to the other.
I got you now.
Yeah, so when people say they've done it, no, they haven't. They haven't done it the way it's going to be done moving forward under the Olympic platform. This is going to launch at the end of this year for the very first time under the modern rules. And you're going to see a completely different program, more what you're used to seeing under our youth MMA programs.
Okay, so basically, if I'm hearing you correctly, pancration is going to be more so for the youth, and then MMA amateurs is going to be for MMA amateurs, basically like that.
That's correct. It'll be for the youth and novice MMA kind of programs, and then we're going to move into the amateur MMA, which is more of the elite level MMA of what you know today. It's pretty much consistent with the ABC, what we know is like the ABC modern amateur MMA rules.
Okay, well, good. So now that leads to this question: kind of map out what the landscape looks like now. So now from youth. Like I always said, hey, get involved with doing regionals, then get involved with doing nationals, then go to worlds, and now we have the Pan Am Games. Can you kind of break it all down to what we have available to athletes from the age of 6 all the way up to pros when it comes to Gamma USA, Gamma Worldwide, and now UWW? What's out there for fighters to do?
Yeah, the good thing is we have just more programs available. So obviously our youth programs go from 6 to 17. And that's under our novice pancreation rule set. But we still use that rule set for novice adults as well. So
Okay.
it just essentially removes the more dangerous techniques like lower body submissions. There's no head strikes in any way for that specific rule set. If you want to do the head strikes in the full amateur MMA, then you go into the amateur MMA program. So we're trying to widen the base of who can compete. We're also in discussion to add a couple more disciplines that are even a lower level to maybe entice more the wrestling crowd to when they move from wrestling into MMA. We're going to have a kind of a rule set that'll maybe make an easier transition from wrestling into amateur MMA and pancreation program. So that's in development, and that'll be rolled out in the next 6 months. Privately, I'm working with Anthony Pettis, who UFC champion, Hall of Famer. He's on our board of directors now, and he's been a big voice and he's helping us. But him and I and a couple others are developing our ranking system. We're developing content so we can help gyms that want to coach our pancreation and amateur MMA programs, as well as a ranking system nationally. So he comes from the USA Taekwondo side. He's very connected with those guys, and so we learned a lot from what they do and what their programs consist of. So we're going to kind of mimic a very similar ranking system, obviously with our own criteria, so people can be ranked regionally, statewide, regionally, and nationally. And that will be who will get to represent the USA in upcoming World Combat Games and other international events under the UWW side. So
okay, so when a fighter comes say, "Hey, I want to compete," then you can now gauge if they're a novice or if they're a beginner or a middle or advanced, kind of like that.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, we're creating a level system. So we want to be a program inside of existing gyms. Yeah. So we're going to have level 1 through level 5 certificates on pancreation, as well as amateur MMA. So again, we don't want to change a gym specific belt structure if they happen to be a karate gym or taekwondo or other kempo or whatever they may do. Yeah. We want to have an added bonus for them to be able to teach youth MMA and pancreation programs. So that's coming, and that'll be done in the next few months. We're finishing up the content, and I'm excited about it.
Okay, so do coaches have to qualify to be considered an MMA coach under Gamma USA or Gamma UWW? Would they have to get a certificate saying, "Hey, my gym is now licensed to do this," like that, or?
Yeah, they don't have to, but if they want the recognition of saying that they're a certified coach in a certified club, we have a program that's coming out right now in the next, again, 3 to 6 months. We'll have it all wrapped up. But we're going to have a training for the coaches who do want to go through that training program because, again, MMA as a sport is a very niche sport. Yeah. Look at how many martial arts gyms are in a city versus how many MMA gyms, and which ones are successful. True. The MMA gyms financially struggle because people inherently think it's a more violent or a tougher decision, especially for family and kids. And not everybody wants to compete, so we want to have a safe, fun level that people can get involved and and be part of our pancreation and amateur MMA programs.
All right, so fight fans, you see there's a lot going on. Like I always tell you, when me and Justin get together, we've been at this for a long time. Me on the media side and content development, all the kind of good stuff. And he's doing a lot behind the scenes, outside of being a ref. You see, it's not only the politics, it's the language, it's the understanding, it's the visual presentation of what you think it is, right? This is the sport of mixed martial arts, right? It's not just about entertainment or clickbaiting or all that. It's a sport. It's always been a sport. It is now being developed as a sport. So Justin, what do you want to leave the fans with so everybody can kind of get the full picture of everything?
Yeah, stay tuned. We've got some big news coming up, especially our club affiliate program. There's going to be a lot of information, a lot of stuff to gain for the athletes and associates. I think we're going to have. Once that program launches, we expect a banner year. We've already talked to several major associations I think we're going to be able to be partners with and that are going to bring our programs into their culture and systems, and I'm excited about it. So I think in the next 24 months, we're probably going to see the biggest growth that we've ever experienced nationally and globally.
Wow. Okay. So, hey, that's exciting news, fight fans. So, I'm done with saying get on board. I'm saying there's enough information out there for you to make a decision that this is the home you want to be under. We're building a community, of athletes and coaches and fans that could kind of go, look, we're here to stay. We're legit, outside of Brazil and what's going on there. We pretty much has been a pretty smooth system getting athletes to compete, not only nationally, but internationally. So we'll get past this hurdle and we're going to go ahead and do it like we do, because we are who we are. Justin, give us something to leave with.
Yeah, stay tuned. Keep watching our programs. I'm excited about it. Watch our growth. Be part of UWW. Be part of Gamma. We're part of both organizations. We're the only national recognized pancration and MMA federation for both. And we've got a lot of opportunities upcoming that we can't announce yet, but will be announced before the end of this year with multiple international tournaments. So stay tuned.
All right, you heard it. Hey, he does it like he does it. Like I said, hey, don't sleep on us, because before you realize, we're going to be at your front door, because that's how we do it. This is Coach D, doing what I'm doing, calling it like I see it, hanging out with my road dog, Justin Brown. Till you hear from me again, peace out.